Yesterday, Charlie Kirk lost his life in a tragic shooting at a college speaking event in Utah. I don't need to explain who Charlie Kirk was. I'm sure you're all familiar with the man. And I should be honest, I often had big disagreements with his political worldview. But my objections to his politics are irrelevant today. No one ever deserves to be killed for speaking their beliefs. Charlie Kirk was a human being, a husband, and a father. Not only are his family mourning today, but millions of individuals, especially young people, who looked up to him as an inspirational leader. Despite his controversies, I believe he had a genuine faith in God and wanted what was best for America. Moments like this force us to take a step back and ask ourselves what kind of nation we want to become. Because I believe it is just as important to focus on the response to a tragedy as the tragedy itself. This notion feels especially timely today, as America mourns and meditates on another awful event in our collective past. Today is Thursday, September 11th, 2025, 24 years after the horrifying terrorist attack on the World Trade Center. Now, how did our country respond to this tragedy? The US's reaction led to at least 5 major wars over 2 decades, causing hundreds of thousands of civilian deaths and killing significantly more American troops than the people lost on 9/11 itself. Now, my point here is not to criticize the decision to fight these wars, but to argue that reactions can have just as much impact as the original action. That lesson from history is worth keeping in mind as we process what happened yesterday. There's been an unnerving pattern of political violence these past few years from both sides of the political spectrum. From the plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, to the attempted assassinations of Donald Trump, to the murder of 2 Minnesota politicians, and more, this is a terrifying trend. And while the sole blame for these actions lie entirely on the shoulders of the people who carried them out, it's important to recognize how our culture is pushing people toward extremism. The language we use to talk about traumatic events matters. I've heard some people, while decrying yesterday's shooting, use phrases like far-right extremist to talk about Charlie Kirk. Here is the truth. Charlie Kirk was a conservative moderate. He was not a far-right extremist. Trust me, I've talked to a few. I know what they sound like. On the other hand, I've heard inflammatory language from the right, including the address from President Donald Trump last night. The radical left did not kill Charlie Kirk. A single deranged shooter did. Using hyperbole for the sake of political grandstanding is dangerous, because eventually people start believing the exaggerations are real. President Trump is not literally Hitler. Leftism is not a demonic force. There are no actual concentration camps in America. Every conservative does not hate all women. Democrats are not plotting to destroy our nation, and on and on. I shouldn't have to say any of these things. They should all be obvious to everyone who goes outside and chats with a neighbor, but I hear these statements like this all the time. And making these exaggerated claims today will not put our nation on the path to healing, but drive us to become even more divided. Read history books. These are the kinds of events that, when escalated, have led to dozens of real civil wars. So if we agree that hyperbole as a response to tragedy can be dangerous, the natural question is, what should our response look like instead? Well, if you believe in the power of prayer like I do, then right now is the moment to pray for the Kirk family and all those in mourning. This is also a chance to reflect on our shared humanity and mortality, and a chance to self-reflect on whether our own words and actions encourage others toward peace or violence. Charlie Kirk made an effort to engage with others respectfully, even with people directly hostile to his views. The fact that his life was cut short speaking to an opponent at an event called Prove Me Wrong is a perfect testament to this. That spirit of openness and humility is something we should all aspire to. God bless you all. Thank you.